teachers, babysitters, camp counselors, etc. What's the most unreasonable things parents have asked you to do for their precious muffin? I am a camp counselor at an overnight camp. One kid's mom called to tell us that her kid cannot drink water or take a shower because he was going to have a mental breakdown from the minerals in the contaminated water. She said he could only be exposed to pure water, whatever that means. Long story short, she tried to sue us for unsanitary water conditions. He's going to have a mental breakdown from the dehydration from the lack of water, whether purified or not. I worked at a camp and a parent came to me explaining how their child would need help going to the bathroom, specifically wiping, as they were not potty trained. The child was 7. He wasn't special needs or anything like that. His mother just always did it for him. We refunded the money to the parent and explained that being potty trained was one of the conditions of the camp. My husband's nephew is this way. I hate it. His mother is a horrid mother and he's a nightmare child. He just does whatever he wants and screams and curses in your face whenever you try to get him to stop. He'll scream things like "I'll punch you in the penis" or "I'll F-wording kill you," and nothing anyone does will make him behave. He's not properly potty trained and he's like 6 or 7. I don't know. I actively avoid the kid cause he's such a poop head. He'll just sit on the toilet screaming "I'm doo alone" until someone comes and wipes him for him. It's horrible and disgusting and I don't know how he handles school. One of my friends is a nurse at our local hospital. She looked after a 17-year-old whose mother did the whole bedside vigil thing. The daughter would be reading a book and ask the mother to turn the pages for her, which the mother would do. Heaps of other stuff the mother would do for the daughter on request. Change the TV channel with the remote, etc. The mother would escort her daughter to the toilet, which my friend thought was just the mother being a bit overprotective. One day the mother had to leave for a couple of hours and the daughter needed to go to the toilet. She asked my friend to escort her as the mother did, which my friend did but stopped outside the toilet. The daughter looked confused and asked her why she wasn't coming in. My friend said she was confident the daughter could do her business unsupervised. The daughter, genuinely confused, then said, "But who's going to wipe my bum? Dear God." Used to work at a mall. The amount of people who would ask us to watch their kids while they finished shopping was astounding. The worst, though, was the woman who just left her 5-year-old daughter at the store. We had a kids table and she told her to sit there and play. It was stupid busy so we didn't notice at first, but when it slowed down we realized we had an abandoned kid on our hands. The manager was on the phone with security when the mom came back, grabbed the kid, and fricked off without a word. I worked at a record store in a mall back in the 90s, and we had a program where you could listen to any CD in the store before you bought it. One Memorial Day we were unexpectedly slammed and short-handed as a result. So one of us was on register and I was at the sound bar all day, with neither of us able to work the floor. I had a crowd 3 deep at 6 CD players, and this woman walks up with 2 kids and about 2 dozen CDs apiece and says, "Now, you stay here and listen to these CDs and have the nice man change them out when you're done. And I'll be back in 3 hours." I put the kibosh on that real quick. She had the nerve to get mad and tried to play the customer is always right card, but just sort of fizzled when I pointed out that she wasn't a customer unless she bought something. And she had just tipped me off that she had no intention of doing so. Not to mention we weren't babysitters and no way was I going to take on that liability. She just knocked the CDs all over the place, and left in a huff, threatening to call corporate. The awesome thing was the people who had witnessed her tantrum helped me pick up the CD's big smiley face. Yerd. I know that feeling. I work in a store within a clothes store. The place I work at is stationery and fun little gifts that I can see children would like, although they tend to be very delicate. So we encourage children not to touch them too much because things break all the time. I cannot begin to tell you the amount of times I've heard parents tell their children to stay in the store while they go looking at the clothes. Of course, things smash all the time, and more often than not. As I said, my shop is within another store, so there's no door stopping them from leaving my area and wandering off. The children run around and then leave the shop, and I do nothing to stop them because my job is to sell products, not babysit children. Plus I know they couldn't actually leave the larger store as there are security at the main door. Then the parents come back angry demanding to know where their children are and why aren't they being looked after. Grinds my gears every time. I used to be a hairstylist at a chain hair salon and it was alarming the amount of parents who either A, just dropped the kid off with money to get a cut, then had us cut the hair and kid paid. Then said parent would storm in and be a big fat meanie about the haircut. Maybe if you came in they would have gotten what you wanted. We aren't babysitters. B, drop kid off for haircut and not come back for hours. I'm talking kids as young as 5. The worst was a parent dropped their 7-year-old off at 7:30 for a cut. She was done at 8 PM and we close at 9 PM. Well, closing rolls around and parents still didn't come. We had to call the police and they took the kid with them. This was at 9:30. It was insane. Kid was crying and we didn't know what to do. C, parent gets haircut and brings all their kids, usually at least 2-5, and let them destroy the store and expect us to watch them while we cut hair. Plus it's dangerous because the kids always get into our shears and clippers, which can cut you bad, and like to spin and bounce in the chairs, which breaks them and they could fall and crack their head open. The worst was when they turned the hair washing sinks on. They spray everywhere if you don't know what you're doing. Or when one kid got into the hair color tubes. That was in fun not. Anyway, so glad I'm not working there anymore. If you are enjoying this video, please like it. It helps my channel grow. Worked at a summer camp for a month a couple years ago. In my bunk I had a kid come from France. Sweetest kid I've ever met, looked like he was loving camp. 2 weeks in we get a call from his mom claiming her son isn't getting enough time to do arts and crafts, which was his favorite. No problem, my supervisor arranges it so that I can take my bunk to the arts and crafts center more often. 2 days later complains he's still not going enough and pulls him out of camp. There is no possible way that she could have gotten the letter saying that even if she was staying in Canada, which she was. Letters took at least 4-5 days to get to parents. She legit just ruined her kid's summer, who I spoke directly to in French, and he told me he was having the best time. I actually adored that kid. He was one of the few not entitled little buttholes I had in my bunk. I've worked at a large summer camp for the last 4 summers and I had been a camper for the 8 previous summers. 4 years ago my friends and I were essentially counselors in training, and 2 of my friends were given their own cabin of campers as real counselors as recognition for having done a good job. When being told about the campers they were going to have, they were informed that the parents of one of the campers had sent the camp bottles upon bottles of sugary flavored water, because this kid didn't drink water at all. My friends had to constantly carry around multiple large bottles of this flavored water in their backpacks because the camper refused to drink any real water. And being counselors in training, my friends didn't feel like they were in the place to actually try to do something about it, so they had to suffer through carrying multiple liters of this camper's water for 10 days around a very large camp. The next summer, another of my friends had this camper in his cabin. The camper still wasn't drinking water, but my friend wasn't having it. So for the next 3 weeks he slowly diluted the flavored water every day until by the end he was giving the kid just water in the flavored bottles. And when he told the camper and the parents at the end of the summer, they were all stunned and happy that finally he was able to drink real water. Now the camper still comes to the camp every summer, and from what I can tell he is drinking water. That friend who got him to drink water, by the way, won Counselor of the Year at the camp the following summer. Everyone I ever knew who worked as a camp counselor would have taken some of that flavored water to mix with vodka. Things I had parents ask me to do while I taught include: call them when their child has homework. Not just in my class, but in general. Like, if he has math homework, I, the English teacher, need to call mom. Call home if he speaks to a certain kid, at all, during the day. No idea how I'm supposed to know if they talk to this other kid. Call home if he trades for other food at lunch. I didn't even have lunch duty. I asked if it was an allergy concern. Mind you, these were middle school age kids, not littles. And the mum said she just wanted to know. Call home if their grade dropped below a 95%. Hold an assembly because their son's calculator had been stolen and dad was convinced he could pick the culprit out of the crowd. No assembly held. Calculator found in bottom of locker, under some papers. Best one of all was an email I received from a parent asking to please excuse their daughter from reading in an English class. I asked them why and they said they were trying to keep unhealthy ideas out of her head. I told them that she was required to read for class and I had observed her reading for fun several times and she seemed to enjoy it, but I would let them know if I saw her reading anything inappropriate. Actually, now that I'm listing them out, I realize that there are too many. Parents are absurd. We had parents a few weeks ago that told the principal of the school that they were keeping their child home the entire week of Drug Awareness Week, because it shouldn't be the school's responsibility to mention drugs to kids. The parents wanted to educate the child on drugs. Both parents were lacking about half their teeth and the other teeth were brownish. They had gaunt faces, so many pimples and pits, and very skinny. Total meth heads. Ooh, I know this one. Drug Awareness Week also teaches kids to knock on their parents, and there's bound to be a lot for them to talk about. Oh boy, what an education. Any sign of drug use in the parents where I worked was an instant call to CPS. When my husband was little, they did drug week at his school. On the poster they showed the kids were normal drugs and then also had cigarettes on there as well. My husband proceeds to tell them his mom does drugs. Cops and CPS called. They go to the house and find no drugs. He told them his mom did drugs because she smoked cigarettes. Not really something they wanted me to do for their kids, but for their dog. The mom told me that the neighborhood hoe had a big thing about dog poop on people's grass. Fair enough. But I guess even the smear of it on the grass after it gets picked up. This woman literally asked me if I could put a bag on my hand and try to catch the poop as it fell out of her dog's backside, so as not to leave a smear on people's lawn. I nodded, said oh yes of course, and just picked up the dog poop after he did his business like a normal human because I love and respect myself. What the frick? Hee hee ha ha ha. Hi friends, if you enjoyed this video please like it and subscribe or don't, I'm not your boss.